Pilgrims, Susan from Sisters to Santiago here to talk about my experience while walking over the Pyrenees and to say that you don't need to be intimidated by it. You can do it. My sister and I had limited time, so we decided to do a hybrid journey along the Camino Frances. We knew we wanted to walk additional segments besides the Sarria to Santiago, but really didn't know which ones. I'll share my insights on our hybrid journey in another video, but today I want to talk to you about the Pyrenees. Wanted to start our Camino in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port and walk over the Pyrenees. It was a calling for me, and although my sister was a bit hesitant in the beginning, we decided to do it even though we both had a lot of concerns and worries about it. I watched a number of YouTube videos about crossing the Pyrenees, and that didn't make me feel any better. It actually made me more anxious. Would we be able to do this? It seemed like a really daunting task for a 50-year-old with arthritis and a 59-year-old. And we were a little nervous, but we were just dedicated to doing it. So we started doing some training. Luckily, we live in Denver, Colorado, which is the mile-high city. So we are starting at an elevation of 5280, and then we also went into the Rocky Mountains to do some of our training. So we were really lucky that we could do some high elevation training. That did not calm our nerves though. About a few weeks before the actual trip, I decided to do a little bit more research than just watching YouTube videos and found out that the highest point in the Pyrenees is actually lower than Denver. It's 4,682 feet. Now, I know that some of you watching are living at sea level and you're saying, that seems crazy high. And yet, it kind of is. If you're coming from sea level, you are definitely going to feel it in your lungs. But the biggest thing to me is just thinking about it in terms of putting one foot in front of the other. You take it slow, you take breaks, and you listen to your body. Even though we had been doing training above at higher elevations, we were still super nervous about the climb and wondered if we could actually walk the distance to Roncesvalles. So we decided to break the trek up into 2 days with our first night at the Refuge Orson. So we had no idea how long it was going to take us to walk to Orson. After all, it was an elevation gain of over 2,000 feet in 4.66 miles. I always joke that we're the slow ski sisters, and it normally takes us much longer to walk than most. And actually, matter of fact, when we were doing the Camino, our theme song was Walk On By, if you know that one. If you watch any of the videos, you'll hear me singing it a few times. It became kind of a joke, but it happened. We're the slow ski sisters. Anyways, we decided then to start out our trek really early, and we left at 7:30 in the morning from Saint-Jean. I have to say that our adrenaline was pumping, and we were so excited about the journey and about what was ahead that I feel like that all propelled us right up the hill. And it will you too. I know that for a fact. We took our time, we went slow, we took breaks, but we did make it to Horno in 1.5 hours. Right before Horno is when the trail really starts getting steep. And we just took it slow, we stopped. Again, we just listened to our bodies and didn't do anything that was more than we needed. In the end, it took us 2 hours and 45 minutes to reach Orson, but we anticipated it was going to take 5 to 6 hours, so we were super excited. I cannot recommend more staying in Orson, which is at an elevation of 2,621 feet. We arrived, because we left so early, we arrived early. We arrived at 10:15 a.m. and had plenty of time to do our chores, which is washing your clothes. We took a nap and we enjoyed a glass of wine on the terrace with some new friends. At 6:30 every day, they have a communal dinner for all the pilgrims, and it's their tradition to have everyone introduce themselves, share a little bit about why they're doing the pilgrimage and where they come from. It's a great experience and a wonderful way to meet people, especially it's going to be your first Camino family, and it's pretty exciting. In hindsight, we would have left a bit later from the Saint Jean and enjoyed a relaxing morning and exploring the town a little bit more because we didn't have enough time the night before. So the second day, the next morning, we started our trek at 8 o'clock a.m. With our wonderful baguette sandwich that we bought at Orson. And we knew the climb wasn't over, and we also knew that it was going to be a 10.44 mile trek over to Roncesvalles. The steepest part of the Pyrenees is this day, but the views were incredible, and the sheep and the horses with their large cowbells around their neck ringing, it makes you just feel like you're in a fairy tale. Personally, for me, it was the distance that was a little harder than the elevation gain. I suspect that's probably because I was coming from the Mile High City. Again, we took our time and really enjoyed the journey. The food truck is located at a great spot up on near the top, and it's a great location just to hang out and eat your lunch, chat with some new people, and don't forget to get your stamp from the food truck. When you do reach the top, there's two different routes that you can go down. So the left path is the steep one, and the right path is not so bad. It's a bit longer, but frankly, it really didn't feel like it was that much longer. We sat on the top and contemplated both of the paths, and I started chatting with this young pilgrim that was sitting next to me. He said that he had gone down the steep path last year and totally regretted it. He said that he had to take an extra day of rest because his knees were just a mess from walking down there. So I thought that was definitely a sign for us to take the less difficult path, and it actually was the path most people took as well. It took us 6.5 hours to walk to Roncesvalles from Orson. We explored a bit when we got to Orson, and then we headed out to Berguet because unfortunately the 200 beds at the albergue were completely full. But the additional 1.86 mile segment that we had to walk to get to Berguet was flat, and it was through a shady forest, and it was just a really pleasant walk, just to like unwind from walking on hills for the last 2 days. Berguet is a small and really charming village with whitewashed buildings and cobblestone streets, and we met wonderful new friends at the pub over a beer that's next to the church. And then we ate our communal dinner with other pilgrims at the famed Hostel Berguet, which is known for Ernest Hemingway, who stayed there in 1924 and 1925 on some fishing trips. And he also wrote about this hostel in his novel The Sun Also Rises. Nice little interesting tidbit there. Berguet, though, also has a dark side, and during the 1600s they did burn some witches, and you can read about that on some of the plaques that you'll find in town. In the end, I wouldn't have done it any other way. Taking 2 days to walk over the Pyrenees was incredible, especially as our first day was totally fogged in and our views were non-existent, but the second day was amazing. You'll never forget the first pilgrim family you meet in Orson, and these 2 days were by far the best for both of us on the entire journey. I even bought a cowbell, where is it? In memory of that part of our trip, so I can ring it and it'll remind me of being back up on the Pyrenees. I want to end by saying that we were lucky that the temperatures were cool, which made hiking much easier. We did this 2-day journey on August 31st and September 1st of 2022. I did speak with another pilgrim about a week later and asked her about her experience over the Pyrenees. She did it 2 weeks earlier than us during that horrible heat wave, and she said it was incredibly hard. So if you're planning your trek in the summer months, you need to really take that into account. Check below. There's the 2 highlight videos from both of our days climbing over the Pyrenees, and I hope you like them. If this video was helpful for you, please like it, and if you want to hear more insight from our hybrid Camino, subscribe and follow Sisters to Santiago. Sue signing off here. We'll talk to you soon.